Hey everyone, welcome back to Bewitching Brain. I'm Cindy, a medical student at the Medical College of Wisconsin. We're so happy to have you with us and encourage you to subscribe and share. Take good care, be safe, and help others be safe. In the last video, we finished up our spinal cord series with a discussion of ALS. In this video, we'll be starting a mini series on the brainstem. So what is the brainstem and what does it do? In the next few slides, we'll dig a little deeper into how the brainstem is structured and how this structure allows it to carry out various functions. So let's talk about the physical structure of the brainstem. The brainstem is composed of three main parts: midbrain, pons, and medulla. All parts of the brainstem share an important job to relay information between the spinal cord and the brain. We mentioned in previous videos that sensory signals must travel through the brainstem to reach the brain for processing, and motor signal must travel through the brainstem to reach the spinal cord and then muscles for movement. For example, the second neuron of the dorsal column tract decussates in the medulla and then ascends through higher parts of the brainstem as a medial lemniscus before reaching the thalamus. The spinal thalamic tract for pain and temperature sensation and the lateral cortical spinal tract for movement also transmit through the brainstem. The brainstem also includes the reticular formation, which regulate consciousness, sleep-wake cycles, and cardiovascular functions. Lastly, the brainstem houses all the cranial nerve nuclei. The next video will discuss in detail the various cranial nerves. For now, it's just important to understand that the cranial nerves exit the brainstem and serve important functions such as transmitting hearing and sensation. Each part of the brainstem contains different cranial nerve nuclei, and the rest of the functions of the brainstem parts are unique, and we'll go through each of them in the next few slides. So the midbrain has many functions. It houses the oculomotor nucleus for cranial nerve 3 and the trochlear nucleus for cranial nerve 4. It is important for motor movement, particularly eye movement. Some other main structures of the brain are periaqueductal gray, which processes pain signals and fear, and substantia nigra, which houses nerve cells that make dopamine and controls movement. Next, the pons houses trigeminal nucleus for cranial nerve 5, abducens nucleus for cranial nerve 6, facial nucleus for cranial nerve 7, and vestibular nucleus for cranial nerve 8. It plays an important role in controlling autonomic nervous system, especially staying alert and for pain and fight or flight. The medulla, lastly, houses the glossopharyngeal nucleus for cranial nerve 9, the vagus nucleus for cranial nerve 10, the spinal accessory nucleus for cranial nerve 11, and hypoglossal nucleus for cranial nerve 12. It plays an important role in controlling autonomic nervous system as well, especially digestion, temperature, and blood pressure. So let's talk a little bit about an example of how the brainstem alters the activity of the autonomic nervous system. It is important for the body to regulate blood pressure and not allow it to get too high or too low. When blood pressure gets too high, receptors called the baroreceptors in certain blood vessels start firing. They send a signal along cranial nerve 9 or 10, which sends the signal to the medulla. The medulla then sends a signal through autonomic nerves to the blood vessels and heart to decrease blood pressure. I hope you learned more about brainstem structure and function in this video. Please feel free to comment with questions and suggestions for future video topics. A huge thanks to Dr. Teresa Patitucci for her brainstem illustration. Next time, we'll be discussing in more detail the locations and functions of the cranial nerves. Please join us. Thank you for listening, Brainiacs. Tune in next time for more.